whether that stems from our parents, our girlfriends when we were little, the sister wound, to our romantic heartbreaks, to our body image and relationships, and just how it's all really connected. And so I decided to write a book so that we can really come home to the truth of what it really means to be a woman on this planet.
We're back, baby, with a brand new season of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. Join us each week as we have unfiltered conversations about how to transform your life. Our mission is to usher in a new era of spirituality where you don't have to be all love and light to live a life of alignment. Here, we honor all of it, the profound and the profane, the magic and the messy, and all things that make you human. So let's discuss the truth behind transformation and be unapologetic in our evolution. From manifestation to money, embodiment to energy, and all taboo topics, nothing is going to be off limits. Are you ready to live a life that feels just as good as it looks? Let's get fucking spiritual. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. I am so excited for the guest that we have on today. Her name is Jessica Zweig, and you may have heard of her. I feel like she's been around quite a bit doing many things. This woman is of many talents. She is a branding and marketing expert, just recently sold her company Simply Be, and is also a serial entrepreneur. She's got many, many accolades, which I could list them all here, but I'll just say Marianne Williamson named her a voice of our generation. So that's a pretty badass, pretty badass thing to say. And she's got a top-rated podcast called The Spiritual Hustler. She's a sought-after public speaker, and recently has written her new book, which I have right here, The Light Work. Reclaim your feminine power, live your cosmic truth, and illuminate the world. And when I read this book, I lit up in chills on the first chapter, I was telling her. And it is just so timely, so beautiful, so deeply channeled. And something that I share on this podcast all the time is that I'm such a big stand for having people on that I can feel live so deeply in their truth and in integrity. And I feel that from Jessica. And I'm really excited to have her on the show today. So Jessica, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm already crying. So this is going to be, I think, a really beautiful conversation. And I just so receive everything you just said. And honored to be in your studio.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. The moment that we were connected, I just felt immediate, like, yep, soul sister. Yeah, big yes. And I just have so much respect for the journey that you've been on. And reading this book, I mean, every line, I was like, yes, oh my gosh, yes. Like, she gets it. I've so been on this path too. And this is such a beautiful body of work that you're going to be releasing soon out in the world when this podcast goes live. And I'm so excited to chat with you about it today and for people to receive the codes that are in this book, because it is massive.
There's some codes in there.
Yeah, just a few.
The whole thing.
Yeah, so we're going to dive into all of it today, but can you tell us a little bit about the journey that you went on to find yourself now writing this book? Because so many people know you as a serial entrepreneur. You've, created massive success in the 3D world. And from my understanding that you eventually hit some burnout and it led you to Egypt. So I want to hear all about it, but in your words, tell us your story.
Well, the story goes that I started my career as an entrepreneur, 15 years ago, failed my first business, scaled and ultimately sold a second. Now I'm on to my third. And it was the last 7 years of building Simply Be. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you build a business, and if you have a brand, that you're not necessarily like separate from your brand. Your brand is you. And Simply Be, my agency, which I started as a one-woman consultancy in credit card debt, not a lot of money, definitely not a lot of confidence, but just had a vision, had a purpose, had this idea that I knew Simply Be would mean something in the world, and it just took off. And I became, the face of this business. I became synonymous with the brand Simply Be. And for so many years, it was in alignment. It started scaling, it started growing. If you would have told me 1-2 years into starting that business as a broke, entrepreneur, like rubbing two pennies together to start this dream, that I would be where I was in 2 years' time, I would have never believed you.
Yeah.
It was bigger than me, you know? And I say in the book, The Light Work, like, what happens when you are driving this car, you know, called your dreams, reconciling your deep passion and your deep ambition with a deep desire to serve, and you can't stop.
Yeah.
You crash the car. That's hell. And so Simply Be took off like a rocket ship, and I wrote my first book, Be, which catapulted the business, doubled my team, went from 9 people to 30 people in like 15 months, doubled the revenue, clients, and I was working 100 hours a week for like years. And I went through what can only be, you know, during that crash, be classified as and diagnosed as full-on depression, situational depression and physical burnout. And it was during that really dark year, this was 2022, that I had to really truly be brought to the depths of that. Like, I call it the rage against the machine called my life. And I very serendipitously, my higher self had planned a trip to Egypt that same fall. And I got on an airplane and I went to that country, and I came home 2 weeks later, a completely different identity. And I had a lot to say about not just that trip, but about, I think, women who pursue big dreams, who are hyper-performing, hyper-vigilant, who've probably been through what I've been through when it comes to worthiness and wanting to be seen and validated and loved, whether that stems from our parents, our girlfriends when we were little, the sister wound, to our romantic heartbreaks, to our body image and relationships, and just how it's all really connected. And so I decided to write a book called The Light Work, really taking women into the dark.
Yeah.
So that we can really come home to the truth of what it really means to be a woman on this planet, and our innate divine gift to be in a human body, a woman's body. I got so many of those codes from the goddesses of Egypt, and I've put it together in a book that I feel, frankly, is my true message in the world. You know, because you said I have done a lot of marketing, branding. I've been known to be like the bright yellow, sunny marketing girl in the world, and that's definitely an avatar and an identity that I love and I honor. And she got me so many places, but I've been on the spiritual path for 15 years. It was always leading to this.
Yeah.
So that's the answer to that beautiful question.
Oh, wow. And I just love this journey that you've been on. And I could take this so many directions. I'm like, I want to talk about the feminine and all of the awakening, but tell us a little bit about your experience in Egypt and what you discovered there within yourself. And how you wanted to bring that to the world.
I'm so excited. I'm going back to Egypt. I live to talk about that place because it'll fuck up your life, that country, in the most beautiful way.
Full death.
Full death. You go there, it is not a vacation. It is a spiritual pilgrimage. And, you know, the first morning I was there, we went to the Sphinx. We went with a small group. We had some very powerful, kind of, for lack of a better word, connected guides. You can just go, I would assume, but you really want to dial into the people of that country who are dialed in to like what we're all about, because you can go there as a tourist and learn about like the historical facts of the pyramid, or you can like go with guides that understand what's happening really inside those walls. So
we got chills when you said that.
We were very blessed. We went with this very incredible mystic guide. So I get to the Sphinx, 4 a.m. wake up call. We get there before dusk because you're not allowed to go behind the chain to touch the Sphinx and to have a private access unless you go with, again, guides who can do that. So we were able to do that. I get to the Sphinx. This is like first 16 hours in Egypt. I go up to it by myself and I put my hands on it and I close my eyes. And I immediately started hearing very distinct voices. And they said to me, "Welcome home. We're so happy you're here. We have been waiting for you to come back." So I literally peel my body off the wall. The second I hear that, I'm like, okay, that was amazing. And was that even real? And my friend Laura was about 50 feet away from me, not knowing that I was standing there. It was like a dusk, dawn, pre-dawn, like light. She was taking a picture of the Sphinx for her own camera. And she walks up to me literally 5 seconds after I had this moment, heard these voices. She's like, Jessica, look at my phone. And she shows me a picture of her taking a picture of me while I was standing there. You can see my hands are in that position. And there's a huge white beam of light coming into my back. It looks photoshopped. It looks fake. Wow. You go to these temples and you have these experiences that when you relay these stories here in the 3D, back in America, you sound crazy.
Yeah.
People are like, that's not real. That's a movie. Yeah. That didn't happen. There's no way that could happen. You're not on any drugs. At least we weren't. You're not on any plant medicines. You are coherent. And you're going into these sacred sites. We went all throughout Egypt for 15 days. We went to 10 temples. You literally start in Cairo, go to the pyramids. You go down to Aswan. You drive, float up the Nile River. You stop at Philae, Isis. You stop at Kom Obo. You stop at Hathor's temple, Dendera. You go to Abydos. Temple of Osiris. It's one temple after the next, and you are recollecting pieces of yourself. And these walls are alive. And you are having deeply intense, psychedelic, physical, emotional, clairaudient, clairvoyant experiences. And there was one particular temple, Dendera, we were just talking about her, which is the temple of Hathor, the goddess of bliss, pleasure, play, frequency. And I was in one of her music chambers. And I had this thing, I guess, where I wanted to always press my body up against the walls because it's like they're alive and you want to touch your physicality to these like living frequencies. Anyway, I got struck by white lightning, hit by a diamond white light flash, and my entire auric field expanded beyond planet Earth. And I started hearing all of these voices from who I believe to be the Pleiadians. Pleiadians have an association with the Hathors. Hathor's temple is directly located on the planet Earth in alignment to the Pleiades constellation at a certain point in the year. And they gave me so many messages, and it really inspired the entire book, The Light Work. And I just came back. I call it, like, people are like, how was Egypt? I'm like, I'm new. I have no other way to define it than I'm new. Literally a shedding of an identity, of a skin, like a Kundalini snake, like fell. And yeah, I really have never been to a place quite like it.
Wow. As you're speaking, I'm like, as you were talking about the Sphinx and you put your hands up on the Sphinx, my eyes start watering. I'm like almost about to start crying because I can feel the depth of that experience for you and the truth inside of that. And it's so interesting too, because I'm so glad that we're beginning to have these conversations and come out of the spiritual closet, as I know you call it, which is so true, because years ago it would have been so edgy. And even now people are like, if you haven't had one of those experiences, which I hadn't until a year ago, it's like, yeah, you think it sounds crazy. Yeah. And these people are just really woo-woo or they're off their rocker. They think that they're having these experiences, but it's from trauma. But it's like, no, it's
just as real as anything.
The realest, it's even more real than what we think is real here, physical in the 3D.
Correct.
And what I love about this show and what I really aim to do is, one of my missions is to take this ethereal, these kinds of concepts that seem so woo and ground them here in the 3D.
Yes.
And I think one of my gifts is that I actually was raised atheist.
Wow.
And so a decade ago, I was atheist, and I had to almost slowly climb out of that, or like reorient myself through learning from science, through quantum physics, through neuroscience. Like I had to come through the masculine scientific door to start to open my mind to possibility in the unseen.
Wow.
And over time, so I really start to like, that's what I try to do here on the show, is ground this in and share this and be like, I was one of those people 10 years ago that would have said this was crazy.
Yes.
And now, having a deeply mystical experience a year ago that I shared with you before we were on camera, which was why I had to take time off the podcast to integrate it. It took me a while to integrate it into my being. And I think I'm still even learning, who am I now on the other side of this? So I'd be curious to hear about, how was your integration when you came home from Egypt? How did it change who you be in the world, how you show up, your relationships? Like what did it shift for you in your life? And what did that look like upon coming home?
Beautiful question. Well, I almost got a divorce.
We'll start there.
I'm not kidding. My husband and I, he was like, who are you? Where did my wife go? In so many words. I mean, we fought every day for like 2 months. It was really, really hard. That was the hardest part of integrating back into my marriage. And I've been with my husband for 12 years. I write about him in the book. Our marriage is, I think, what I'm most proud of in my life is that relationship. We are in it to win it. But we had a lot of emergency sessions with our relationship coach. And so that was one of the biggest hurdles. Because you share space, you cohabitate, you're in relationship. I came back, what you were sharing before about your own integration and what you shared before the podcast and science and quantum mechanics. I mean, we are literally technology. We are made of light. There's light encoded in filaments in our DNA, in our genetic strands that has been, for lack of a better word, dormant, but it is really not. It's just been a bit programmed to think that it's asleep. And it's carbonated, and we're walking around kind of numb and disconnected, and a lot of fear and ultimately controlled by the matrix. Yeah. And when we awaken and we have these real big experiences, we literally come online. Our computer systems boot up, and we remember who we really are. These sovereign, technologically light-encoded vehicles in these human bodies, here to co-create our own realities. It's such a gift to be alive. And that was really one of the biggest shifts that I walked out of Egypt with. Was some of the biggest memos I got from Hathor was like, girl, you've missed the point of this whole experience. It's meant to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's meant to be joyous. Yeah. Like, get back to the plot of the human experience. And so that's really what I did. In 2023, I went on a deep healing journey to heal my nervous system, because it was cashed from my burnout years, from hustling and building my business. I moved down to Nashville. I got out of a big city. I was, privileged to do that, but spent more time in nature. My word for the year was joy. I practiced joy, and not like shopping and traveling. Like, joy was like closing my computer at 3:00 and taking a walk outside. I went to the art store and bought a sketch pad and started drawing like I used to in 5th grade. I would go catch an ecstatic dance party on the weekends and like sober dance and move my body like a crazy person, just to like shake through all of that somatic healing that was going on in my like system. And I channeled this book in 3 months. This book came right after the Heels of Egypt. Wow. I hosted 2 retreats for women in Santa Fe and Nashville. They sold out. I got a call that a company wanted to buy my business. I ended up selling it. Was my year perfect? No, but I stepped into I had shapeshifted into this new identity, and I really leaned in, softened, found my message through this writing of this book, tapped into the feminine, got more connected to Gaia. I think the biggest upgrade was making joy a practice and a daily choice. And I have really come out on the other side, just such a different person because of that pivot point. And there was some real struggle in that integration, as I mentioned, but there was a lot of beauty because I took on the assignment. Yeah. I accepted the invitation that life could feel and look different. And it was up to me.
Yeah, wow. that really lands so beautiful. And that's something that I'm in the midst of discovering now on my own nervous system and somatic healing journey as well.
Girl.
And there's so much wisdom that exists within the body. And
Body's the way.
the body is the way. And also that joy is such a choice.
Yes.
It's a choice and it's an active practice, just like is love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the way that we be, and regardless of circumstance or what it looks like on the outside. And wow, I just deeply resonate with it, and something that I've been on this path with as well. And our entire second season of the podcast has actually been geared around awakening the feminine.
Amazing.
Because that's been my path, and that's what's alive for me.
Amazing.
And I would love to chat about what that's looked like for you, and also this ancient wisdom that's being remembered now. And I've heard you talk about this, about how we used to operate in the world. And I would love to bring that wisdom to this show too.
It's one of my favorite topics.
Yes, great.
So I had to do a lot of research for this book, and went really deep into certain books. I've got to shout out The Return of the Divine Sophia, The Great Cosmic Mother, Womb Awakening. These were all books that really opened my eyes to, okay, what happened before the patriarchy? What happened before the last 4,000 years on the planet when we just simply started writing shit down? What happened for eons, hundreds of thousands of years, as humanity evolved as a species? How was this run? I also study a lot of Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Billy Carson, understanding from a scientific point of view, our evolution of humanity that really didn't come from Adam and Eve or chimpanzees, but from somewhere up there. And all this to say, in my research, what was being constantly revealed to me was that God is a woman. It's the goddess. We lived in a matriarchal society that was really not only necessarily run by the women of the tribes and civilization, although it was more centered around the feminine values of Gaia, and that women were exalted as the keepers of time, as the keeper of sacred ritual, of keepers of when to hunt and go to tell the men to do so because they could read the weather. We were the original creators of textiles and the calendar and mathematics and astronomy. I mean, it's just like, where did she go? And there was a turning of the tide when we went from like tribe and land to like court and hierarchy, when church and state were written and the masculine began to dominate. And there's a few theories I have on that. I think there's been a fight for a war for Earth between light and dark for eons. And it's playing itself out today. And like, the systems of corporate capitalism, hyper-toxic patriarchy, big pharma, big food, mass media, like we can go on, and I could go off and sound like a conspiracy theorist.
We could do a whole other podcast on that.
Other conversation.
We'll have to have you back.
Totally. But like, if I would love to come back and talk about that. But it's being run by men. Yeah. And we are, paid 80 cents to the dollar for every, woman to man salary. It used to be 60 cents to the dollar in the 80s. Like, we're making progress, but it's still numerically inferior, and that plays itself out in the subtle realms and ethers of like, women are less than men in this current fucking paradigm that we call reality. And I got this so clearly from Hathor and her temple in Egypt. I got this throughout my entire trip with messages from Isis and Sekhmet and all the goddess medicine. I got there that the feminine frequency is actually the original frequency of this planet. It hasn't just been oppressed and repressed, which we feel. It has been actually erased. And so we don't even know what to remember. We don't even realize we've forgotten it in the first place. And so, meeting women like you and connecting with other light workers, especially light worker women who are awakening. There's such a beautiful moment on this planet right now of this collective consciousness arising, because it is returning. It's happening. And it's women like you and I, like your listeners, who are responsible for its returning and to become true leaders of that frequency, this feminine world that isn't all necessarily female, women dominated. It's the values of the divine feminine. It's the principles of what the feminine stands for, which is harmony and balance and abundance and community and equanimity and peace and empathy and compassion, and like take all of those values, and there's way more under the classified feminine, and impart those into your companies, impart those into government, impart those into your home, impart those into your team. And this world is going to be different. And that doesn't mean we make less money, that we're any less beautiful and bougie and fabulous. Like those things don't cancel one another out. I say this all the time. When women have money, women have power, and when women have both, this world is going to be a better place to live in. So sorry for my tirade. I'm so
I love it.
passionate about this. And I really just love that we're bringing it into this conversation.
Yeah, so beautiful. Briefly interrupting this episode to share with you my new group coaching program called Expand. If you are someone who has done all of the courses, the programs, you've listened to the podcast, you consider yourself a very self-aware person, you have journaled, you know your limiting beliefs, you've tried the affirmations, you've done all the things, and yet you're wondering, why do I still feel like I have so much potential? I'm so self-aware, and yet I'm still stuck. If this is you, I created this program for people exactly like you because I was one of you at one point. I had tried all of the different tools and techniques, and it wasn't until I found somatic embodiment and nervous system regulation that I was able to actually unlock the tools and the wisdom of my body. And that's what I'm going to be teaching you in this program. I will be taking you through my 6-part process to learn how to regulate the nervous system, to somatically process and feel your emotions so they're no longer keeping you stuck, learning how to reparent the different parts of yourself, and eventually rewire and repattern your behaviors and your beliefs so that you can actually rise into your greatness. We had 63 women in the last round, and it was amazing. So if you are desiring the level of transformation that these women had, which you can check out on the landing page in the show notes below, then I invite you to join us. We are actively enrolling now. We start at the end of July. And if you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram at Rachel Gibler, and I'm happy to chat with you and talk it through. Now back to the episode. Everything you're saying, I'm like, yes. Yes, like
you feel it in your body, right?
I feel it.
True.
It's full body chills.
Yeah.
And I feel the importance of these conversations right now, and because how we awaken is we're awakening one by one through conversation, and then we go out and there's a ripple effect, and that continues to grow, and there's such contrast on the planet right now between the light and the dark.
Yes.
And I feel the truth in the war that we've been in. The war on consciousness.
War on consciousness.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's happening now, and the light and the feminine is rising. And I think when we say feminine too, for context, it's not like male, female.
Right.
It's the feminine frequency that exists within all of us. And I just feel the depth of the importance of these conversations. And I can feel the listeners that are listening to this right now that feel the truth of this in their bones. And I feel also the dark that's getting very loud on the planet right now.
Me too.
And energies get loud before they die and fall away.
You just took you said it so beautiful. The light is winning now.
Yes.
We couldn't say that maybe a decade or two ago or hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
And that's why the dark is freaking out.
Yeah.
And it's coming and lashing in all the ways that it can because it knows it's no longer big, as big as it was.
And on a collective level, these scales are tipping. And I think the message that I have for all these listeners, and that I remind myself daily, is that like every single one of us individually really matters in the shifting of this collective consciousness. And the fact that you wrote this book and that you're sharing it with the world, and the impact that that's going to have, and the impact that these conversations, like I couldn't imagine doing anything else with my life. I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I'm crying too.
And for somebody listening to this, you know, I think often we have this fallacy in our mind, and we don't realize just how powerful we are, our individual being, how important it is for us to, like, the impact that we can have on bringing our own light and the impact that that creates in the world. So someone listening to this, how can they begin to activate their own light within? Because it starts on an individual first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you for, by the way, just saying, I want to retweet the statement you made around how needed and important the individual who is listening to this right now. I know there's many, but I'm talking to the one girl who's listening to really receive how exceptionally valuable and needed you are right now on this planet at this exact time. Yeah. And you are not here incarnated in this human body called your name for a microcosm of time against the infinite for an accident. You're here for a deeply needed reason. So to answer your question, how do we find that light within? It starts within. It's how I structured the book. Yeah. You know, the book goes through 3 main parts: inner light, outer light, and future light. When I was thinking about how to really concept the book, you know, the first place we cultivate our light has to start with within. It's finding your connection to source, whatever you want to call that, right? And you went on your own journey as an atheist, which is such a beautiful story. It kind of took the scientific backdoor in, but you came to realize you were part of a bigger whole. Whether it's Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, astrology, it doesn't matter. Like, the truth is, we're all a piece of that thing. We are all a piece of the divine. We are ultimately the source of spirit. Feeling your emotions, not letting them stay stuck in your body, really knowing that by virtue of the fact that you can feel all of your emotions allows you to access even higher quantum consciousness. Like, we are gifted with a living library of feelings, and those are our library cards to plug into higher consciousness. Really remembering to love your body, to be in right relationship with your body, to stop abusing your body with self-hatred and supplements that you don't even understand what they do, or listening to your doctor who stuffs prescription meds down your throat, comparing yourself to other women's bodies. Like, your body is your temple. It is the home of your soul. And to really cultivate a best friendship with her. And remember the technologically advanced power of your own DNA and cells, your personal power, releasing victim mentality. Nothing is happening to you. Everything is happening for you. To really flex the power key, I call it, which is joy, to choose joy, to be a woman in her unapologetic light, makes you magnetic, puts you into alignment with everything that you're calling in. It really starts with the mental choice. Your thoughts are the only thing in your life you have control over is your mind, which impacts your energy, which impacts your frequency, which creates a vibration that allows you to magnetize more of what you're thinking and telling the world through your mind of how you're seeing that particular moment through a lens of negativity or positivity. It's all up to you, babe. Yeah. Moving outwards, just really want to answer your question. Where does our light get tested? That's all great. We can love our bodies. We can feel powerful, not a victim to shit, super connected to source, love all my big feelings. And then you go home for dinner with your family.
And then the relationships.
And that's really the whole second section of the book, which is outer light. It's like, fuck, I am fighting with my best friend. Yeah. I just got my heart broken. My husband is cheating on me. I feel like I'm not making any money because I'm not. Like there's lives. So really going deep into examining the aspects of family and partnership and friendship and work and money. Mm-hmm. And I walk you all through this in the book of really how to come home to the light inside of yourself in each of those dynamics. And not that it's ever a done job, there's no destination, but once we start to really alchemize our dark and integrate our full authentic expression, our DNA, our blueprint, we have new codes. Mm-hmm. to go out and make the world a better place with simply our beingness. And that's really the final section of the book, which is future light, because we are creating the new earth right now in conversations like this. If we get this out into more and more people and it ripple effects and people really absorb this information and start to shift and tweak the way they see themselves and therefore their lives and show up differently, and we do that at a mass scale, one by one, the children of this planet who are going to be born in 100 years from now are going to inherit a different earth because of what we are doing right now.
Yeah, that's right.
That's why you're so needed. So that's a long-winded answer to your question, but that's how you find your light.
Big yes to all of that, all of the above. Really parallels my own journey. And
I can feel that.
I know you talk so much about being, right? Like your being is the frequency, your being is being in the receptive mode. It is being like your pure, whole, worthy, authentic self. When you be in that, you are magnetic and can create so much in your life. And for me, in my journey, I noticed that, and I'll speak for myself, and I'd be curious to hear your journey with this too, is what got in the way of me simply being was the stories and the traumas that were held in my body and my nervous system, fight or flight, gripping and controlling, and all the different parts of me that were trying to protect me and manage, right? The deeper wounded inner child that I locked away for so long and didn't want to feel.
Yep. And
you share a story in the book that I love. I think you were in the Temple of Hathor, correct me if I'm wrong, but you wrote out all the like shadow parts that you didn't, want anymore, and you ripped them, or you said, I'm going to rip these up and I'm going to throw them down the river. And then you heard a voice that said, you're not supposed to get rid of them, but you're supposed to love them. Yes. And that's been the truth of my journey too, has been learning to feel the parts that I didn't want to feel and love the parts of me that I disowned and didn't like and thought wasn't worthy, and bring them back into really integration.
Yes.
And then that becomes energy that becomes even more of your light for you to be.
Yes.
And so I'd love to hear your take on that too.
Thank you for referencing that part of the book, that it's one of my favorite parts because it's a book about light. And then in the very beginning, I'm like, but first we got to talk about the dark.
Yeah.
Because I'm not here to give you this roadmap to love and light and just be the light worker and live in your sparkly joy and love your body and forgive your parents. It's like, no, this is really deep work. And, I'll reference the Pleiadians because they're a through line throughout the entire book. I am Pleiadian. I'm from that constellation. I believe we're all hybrids here. That's a whole other podcast.
Which I want to talk about.
We'll totally go there. I'd love to. I'd love to. And I had a reading, 7 years ago with a healer, no drugs, just pure channeling. And she told me I was from Pleiades. And I was like, what? Like what? I'd never heard of this before. I didn't know this star system situation up in our Milky Way galaxy. And so anyway, I knew in my body what she had said was true. You just hear something and it's true. So I went on this deep dive to really understand who they were, what they're about. I've read a lot of Barbara Marciniak's books, which I have to give a huge shout out. I reference her throughout the book. She wrote multiple books that were like pure channelings from the Pleiadians, sort of like Abraham Hicks. It's like Esther Hicks. Yeah. She channels the Pleiadians. So it's her as the author, but it's the messages of them. And I read these books. They're rather dense. They're very esoteric. You kind of have to read the same words, sentences a couple times to fully get it. Yeah. But I got it. It all made sense to me completely. Like it was decoding language I knew my whole life in my body. And they have many sort of key messages, key teachings. But one of their biggest teachings is that light, the word light, is a synonym for information. Light is information. It's not light is love, light is peace, light is enlightenment. Light is information. We're, again, coded, DNA stored with a vast amount of data. There's Someone recently told me that there's like 11 billion pieces of data that are in the ethers, in the universe, in our reality, in our senses at any given time, and we're only able to retrieve 40. And so darkness, to your point, is not evil. It's not light is love and darkness is evil, like opposite. What is darkness, according to the Pleiadians? Lack of information. That's it. The light switch is off. We can't see. It's dark. It's black. So what do we do when it's black? We project. We make up stories. We get scared in the dark. We don't, when we don't turn on the light, the dark then gets toxic. It putrefies, it festers. It becomes anger, it becomes hatred, it becomes judgment, ignorance, bullying, racism, anti-Semitism. If you look at all of these projections of dark, they're just, it's ignorance. People can't see the truth, which is love, which is oneness, which is peace, which is harmony, which is, we're all the fucking same. Yeah. And so really, and I loved what you said, Rachel, about this being an integration of all of who you are, the light and the dark. When we turn on the light and we're willing to look at it, take responsibility for it, go through it, not around it, claim it, reframe it, heal it. We become unstoppable. We become so authentic when we do that. We become whole when we do that. There's a reason we incarnated on this planet at this time, because there is polarity here. There's darkness and light, tons of it on planet Earth, and it's fucking school. And we came to learn some serious lessons so that we can evolve our souls to a higher understanding of what the whole point has been all along, because we forget that here on planet Earth, which is to love, which is to be love. And light gives us the information, the codes that leads us back to that. And we need the polarity to accelerate and refine that journey so that we understand the breadth of the human experience, which is the point.
Oh, yeah, we need the contrast.
We need the contrast.
We need the contrast, and so that we can illuminate it and integrate it and become even more whole. And that's even why the name of my podcast is It's Fucking Spiritual.
I love your name of your
Thank
podcast.
you.
It's so good.
Yeah, because it's not just about being spiritually bypassing in love and light. But like, can we take these things that like, you know, fuck, right? These bad words, and can we see all of them and honor all parts of ourselves and let it be edgy and let it, you know, let it be.
There's a lot of fucks in my book.
All of it. And I love it. And I love that you're such a stand for that too.
Yeah, thank you.
If you feel deeply connected to this episode, if you are ready to step into the expanded version of you, if you are ready to learn how to reparent your inner child and repattern the ways that you show up in the world, I'm so excited to officially announce and invite you to my upcoming in-person retreat in Austin, Texas, in August 22nd to 26th. There are 2 different style tickets with 2 very different price points. So I really tried to cater to everyone to make it accessible for you to come. Check it out in the show notes. We have a VIP that comes, stays in the house, has all meals included. We're all staying together. And then there's also an immersion style where you come to the location every single day. And I cannot wait to be in person with all of you, to get to heal together. There's so much that you can do and collapse time when you are held in sisterhood for 3 to 4 days, and allow yourself the space and time to really go into your inner wounding, go into your blocks, go into the things that are holding you back, and learn to actually somatically repattern them in your nervous system. That is what we are going to be doing at this retreat, so that you can plug back into the true you of who you really are and leave as the expanded woman that you know that you were meant to be. And it's called the Expanded Women Retreat. I didn't say that. But anyway, if you are feeling called to join us, tickets officially went live. So go check that out in the show notes. And hopefully I will get to meet you and give you a huge hug in August. I want to not really take a hard left, but I want to talk about the Pleiadians.
Yeah,
and
let's
your, so I know you said 7 years ago you had a reading.
Yeah.
She shares with you that you're from the Pleiadians. And for anybody that is listening to this that might be like, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us a little bit of context? And I love that you've really like come out and owned this, you know, in the book as well. And so many people like, I think, talk about this stuff behind the scenes in our like little groups. Like I certainly do, but you know, it's so fun to be able to bring this more on a mass scale to people listening. So can you tell us about the Pleiadians and your connection and evolution with them?
Yeah. So to give context, you know, we're in a solar system surrounding our sun star with Mercury, Venus, and Earth and Mars and Jupiter, etc., in a galaxy called the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is one of trillions of galaxies in an infinite, ever-expanding universe. So like, just to wrap your brain around that, you can't. It's impossible. Another fact I want to just state, it's important for me to lay context. There are more planets in the universe than there are stars. There are more planets than there are stars. So let's just take our Milky Way for an example and just imagine it fully on blast in this night sky. You can see the whole thing. What you're looking at, the only thing that you can see are the stars. And it's a glittering night sky with billions of stars in the sky. There are more planets than there are stars. So you can't see the planets. We can only see the stars. Earth is in a Goldilocks zone surrounding our sun star. It's not too hot, not too cold, which is why life can form here. It is scientifically impossible. Don't take it from me. Take it from Nassim Harameem and you know, Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and all the great scientists that talk about this. It's scientifically impossible that we're the only life force in the universe. The whole universe, like not even, but the Milky Way galaxy as well. And the Milky Way galaxy is clustered with constellations from different star families, with different star families. There's Pleiades, there's the Sirians, there's the Orions, there's the Arcturians. You can call up a local reader. There's plenty of people. I worked with Emily the Mystic, give her a huge shout out. You can also take fun quizzes on the internet to kind of decode your personality based on what the personalities of these star families stand for. And I don't believe that there's any other explanation for our human evolution. Again, if you study some of these scientists, for other than we were implanted, we were hybrids. There was a Neanderthal sort of chimpanzee-esque like species on Earth. There was a war happening in these other planets across the galaxy hundreds of thousands of years ago. They're far more advanced than we are. They were able to leave their planets and look for another home. They came to Earth. If you look at, and you probably know this in your mind's eye, that image of like the little chimpanzee that then becomes a slightly more upright chimpanzee that becomes, right. So, and it's the theory of evolution. The second to last beings, the chimpanzee that's a little bit more upright, still small brained, still quite hairy, goes to a fully upright, fully bald body, big brained human. And if you do some scientific research, that's scientifically impossible for that to have that genetic modification to have had that big of a jump. We were hybrids. We were implanted with starseed DNA. And because this was a hot spot, there were other, there was wars going on in the skies, the galaxy, other darker-esque beings saw planet Earth of a species of controllable, programmable humanoids. It was like, well, we want that species. And then there were other species like the Pleiadians that wanted to create a more sovereign quantum reality that's similar to where they're from. Pleiadians don't live in linear time. It's a feminine vibration. They have telepathic, kinetic abilities. They can time travel. There's just different tools they have in their systems. And we've been mutated and programmed and suppressed to live in this 3D reality under a lot of control. Back to the Matrix. There's a reason why we're sick. And there's a reason why the pharma industry is $1 billion industry. And there's a reason why there's preservatives that are packed on every single aisle of your mega grocery store. And there's a reason why the only thing you see on mass TV is fear-based messaging and war and darkness and hatred and separation. It's all an illusion. And it's also by design. Again, sorry if I sound like a conspiracy theorist. This is just what I believe it to be true in my body. So the Pleiadians, and this is why I resonated with them so much, are here to say, yo, humans, you're being lied to. You are quantum. You are so powerful. You can co-create your own realities with the power of your mind. You can astral travel. You don't have to work as hard as you think you have to work to make money. Sex is your greatest tool. Enjoy your life, have pleasure, be sacred with your bodies. I mean, code after code after code after code is simply a reawakening of your self-empowerment. That's their message, is self-empowerment, not empowerment, self-empowerment. There's this distinction, and I talk about that in the book. And so every star system, every star family sort of has their own agenda, for lack of a better word. But the ones that I resonate with the most have been the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Sirians, who are really here to seed a new consciousness of an empowered human consciousness, to wake up from the slumber, from the control. When we're sick and we're in fear, that's when we can be controlled. And I think, frankly, the pandemic accelerated a lot of people's awakenings.
I think so too.
And so, yeah, I'm not an expert on the Pleiadians. They're my own experience and my own research, and I've met them. I've communed with them in Egypt. They spoke to me. I've met them in Mount Shasta. I've had a few encounters with them during Lionsgate.
And what did that look like?
It's a really great question. So in Mount Shasta, when I closed my eyes, I could see them. But when I opened my eyes, I couldn't. That makes sense. So I closed my eyes and I saw a male and a female, like purple, bluish, tall, thin, two beings on the mountain. When I was in Egypt, I heard them. I didn't see them, but I heard them. There was probably dozens of them speaking at me, like she's open, we got to get it in. They were like talking over each other. They were talking in unison. They were like fighting for my attention. It was really incredible. When I was Lionsgate portal, and some people think that's an astrological trend, but I do believe there's some big frequencies that are coming right now, actually right when my book comes out. Around the Lionsgate portal, I have felt them. Like I went into this park last year during Lionsgate. I got into nature where there wasn't a lot of static and noise, and I just felt them with me, and I could hear them. I could hear them through my heart, if that makes sense. I could feel their physical presence, but I couldn't see them. And like I said, when I went to that shaman 7 years ago during that reading, when she told me I was Pleiadian, I went in a journey, in a visualization. I went back there and I saw the sky and I saw the grounds and I saw the buildings and I felt their energy, but I didn't see them. I could just feel this sense of home. Like this blissful peace, sense of home.
Wow.
So that's really what I've tried to do with this book, is take their message and disseminate it like you do with this podcast. Take these highly esoteric, really woo sounding, crazy, like, is this girl off her rocker? But I don't think I know I'm not, and put it into a book that I believe that the masses can understand. And that's,
and you did it beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on, because the truth that I can feel that you share, and also there's these esoteric concepts that if people don't understand or have context around or haven't gone into or had their own mystical experience themselves, might be like, I don't understand. Like, what is that? That's just kind of like crazy. But but the way that you explain it and the context that you give, and when we think about the just like massive, incomprehensible size of our universe, and all like, and if just the absolute speck that we are, but then at the same time we're all of it, and we're connected to all of it, and it's everything. And like, it's just, when you really think about, like, we're here on this like floating rock,
It's amazing.
In the middle of where?
Right. Right.
And the fact that we're not all just walking around going, where are we outside? I think about that a lot.
Same. And instead we're like, I don't like how my jeans fit today.
Exactly. It's like, exactly. And it's all valid. It's all real. 100%. It's all so real, you know, and it's just so beautiful how you take all of these concepts, and I do think you make them so real, raw, and relatable for people that can really apply it to their life. And I feel so connected to your message and your mission, and just all of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I have adored every minute of our conversation. I adore you. You're so present. You're such a bright light. I can see it in your eyes. You're galactic too, girl. You should know that.
Oh, I know.
You come from somewhere else in the universe. Maybe we're split from the same star.
Maybe.
But I really appreciated your full heart yes to having me on your podcast, and for reading my book, for sending me that beautiful voice note that you did a couple weeks ago. It meant so much to me. This book is very naked. Yeah. And I'm excited / nervous, I'd call it nearsighted, for this to come out, and just having these conversations just gets me more excited than nervous.
All the best things are.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And I just love your brand, love your mission, and I'm honored to have been a part of it today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. And this book is going to be on pre-order when this comes out. So we're recording this early. We're on top of it. This is going to be airing end of July, and your book comes out. Is it 8/8 on
It's actually August 6th is when it comes out. But if I may, I'm hosting a Lionsgate virtual live stream launch party.
Great.
With Michael Beckwith, who's like the OG.
Who wrote the foreword to the book.
Foreword of the book. Koya Webb, Danielle Page. The four of us are live streaming a full day Lionsgate celebration. It's a portal activation, downloading higher consciousness from the galactic cosmos. It's a powerful day. It's 8/8/8. 2024 equals 8.
Oh, yeah.
So it's literally the most auspicious day of the year to manifest, to set intentions, to plant seeds. And we are celebrating the book launch that same week. And if you go to thelightworkbook.com, you buy a book, enter in your order number, we'll send you the invite to the event. You get a ticket to the event when you buy the book. Yeah, so I'd love for your community to join me.
Yes, definitely do. I'll be there. Yay! Yeah, of course. I love this. I'm such a stand for your work. And we'll put everything in the show notes. So where you can find Jessica, everything will be there, as well as being able to pre-order the book and get your ticket to go to the book launch event.
It's going to be so good.
Yeah, I'm so excited for everyone to read it. And the last thing I want to leave everyone with, just if you were to have one hope for what someone would get out of this book, what is the message that you hope the impact will have on them?
This is such a good question, and it's so hard to answer in a way because the book is so nuanced, but that has a lot of layers to it, I should say. But I just want her to walk away remembering who she is, to accept the invitation, to accept the assignment, that she's not here by accident, and that she is so needed and important, as we were saying, but needed and important to do what? To literally fucking shine, live her light, radiate her luminous, one of a kind, brilliant gifts. And you don't get there unless you do the work. And that's a woman who is a light worker. That's why it's called the light work. So that's my hope for the reader.
And you're such a beautiful embodiment of that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you really received all of these just codes, and it activated you in a way, and you remember your own light and truth and mission, and that your frequency and your being and who you are in the world is so needed. And I love that we talked about this today. So go get the book for sure. It's amazing. And Jessica, we'll have to have you back because I will come back anytime. I would love that. There's so many more things that we could have gone down the rabbit hole. I feel like this is a beautiful start to an amazing friendship. So,
girl.
Yeah. All right. Amazing. I love you guys.
I love you guys too.
Okay, great. Go get the book, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. I am so glad that you're here. And if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share this with a friend that you feel needs to hear it. And if you are really feeling the love and support for this show, this podcast thrives off of your listens and your reviews. So I would love if you could leave us an honest review. We would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your questions, and it helps us get this podcast in the hands of more people and would mean so much to me to receive your support. So thank you.